Burma camp.
Okay.
So when we got to Burma camp, they were training us. They were training us for some time before they called us for interview, and moreover, to the high-ranking military people over there weren't allowing them to touch us. But when they try to touch us, they don't let them see that they are touching us. Yeah, that's when they will start to beat you if the high-ranking people, high-ranking military men are not looking at us. That's where they try to beat us.
You also have marks on your body?
Yeah, I do have marks on.
Let me see that. Whoa. Wait, what caused this? What did they use to beat you?
Any weapon they're having on their hands. Others were using rope.
Oh no! You no. Well, yeah, I know. He still have some bruises behind him, but we can't show that on TV.
They were using.
These are assault marks behind you.
Yes, sir.
What kind of weapons?
Others were using neem tree branches and cables, PVC pipes, and all types of things that they are holding.
So when were you released? Were you released on the same day?
Yeah, I was released on the same day around 11 p.m. as my college friend said it.
So you were also only in boxer shorts?
Yes.
No singlet or anything?
No dress.
And they dropped you at what?
Ashaiman roundabout.
He has marks all over his body. Let me see. So this is his leg. This is the exact spot where the 21-year-old Sheriff Imoru fell. Residents here tell me that they discovered the body here early in the morning. We're told that he had run from a distance of about 300 meters after he was stabbed, but couldn't continue with his journey and then fell right here. And this is the point where the community people discovered the body. I've been speaking to some of the residents, and one of the people I've been speaking to is Beatrice Pochu. Beatrice Pochu's husband was forcibly taken away by the military after he stepped out to attend to a call of nature. Beatrice Pochu tells me that she only realized when she came out and saw her husband's slippers and toothbrush outside their home. She says her husband is the breadwinner of the family, and now that he's been taken away, she's not heard from him since Tuesday. She says their child, a little girl, is unwell, but she's unable to take her to the hospital because she does not have the money.
So, and then 3 days, I'm going to Friday night, I'm going to see a canamikunu near around or sorry, or by Saturday 2 o'clock.
Okay, well, she says that the incident happened on Friday. Friday, when the incident happened, her husband was not at home. He had gone to church and then returned on Saturday, we say.
Saturday 2 o'clock, no.
Saturday 2 o'clock, no. Came back home at Saturday 2 o'clock in the morning. Saturday in the afternoon, okay.
Tuesday night, no pono nim say bibi because we want into oko private na muchi no into ni poba kwa ha na me be hu ni poba na me hu ni brush or the pese we abonti. He
says, well, she says on Tuesday when the military stormed this community, her husband had stepped out to attend to nature's call. At the point when he stepped out, that was when he was picked up by the military. She says she came out and then saw the toothbrush that he was using outside, right outside, and then his slippers also outside here. And see, from Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday, what's the one thing?
Like one frame is to 3 days near Akolanu Pony home fan. 3 days near, or no Coban Sana Yedi. 3 days near Minya and Didier. Minis Council Media Akolani Beko Hospital.
Oh, she's very distressed. She says that since the husband was picked up by the military on Tuesday, she's not heard anything from him. She says that her child is sick. She's unable to take the little girl to the hospital because she does not have money to do that. Since Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Obiantin and Kai, one more in your morning, the Comuson in
Patron Musomuhun or Banakasano, their own frame, but maybe some Kofona mobile or Mukohon mobile, and the Musomuhun or I'm an in 9 poor Nisimbaku. Ni ha say ahu no ntimi nanti papa.
Well, she says personally she's not heard anything from her husband, but she says for those who were with him, who were arrested together with him, they said they saw him with a swollen cheek and also injured, has a leg injury also, but she has not heard anything, from the husband.
But didi oni ho onu na koba ansa na ye didi like miniska minye juma miniska onu na koba ansa na didi bibia ni ho fiti anopa min didi ye 3 days ni ye min didi ye okomu dimi ba miniska me didi ho ache like oni ho ache na me kwa ansa na me ma miniska me didi mini obia yisa onupe na koba ansa na ye didi no hu hwe omunja no no mbrefi onu na be hwe wamba minya ska fa ankola ni ko hospital.
David Kemi is a former teacher. He has a deep cut on his head, and then he also has some assault marks at his back. He says the soldiers who meted out those beatings to them must be made to face the full rigors of the law. He says many of the residents here are innocent and had no idea about what happened to the slain soldier.
Somewhere 4 o'clock, I opened my gate. When I opened the gate, I saw the armor car under the shade of the tree, just at the back of the shade of the tree, and the one commando here, standing here, and he used the gun on me. So asked me to come. So I thought he needed an information. But then I was my boxer. I did not wear anything. So when I came, he just asked me to go closer. But then the water was on the ground. So when I was there, before I could realize, about 3 of his team came around. They started slapping me, and then they asked me to roll on the ground. In the process, I saw a woman. There's a market closer here, Ashaiman Market. The woman also was going to the market. They asked her to put things down, and she asked her to join me. As an elderly woman, a man who was traveling, but then they asked him, and because the man was not responding, they started beating him. So we're beating the 3 of us, and then they asked her to do pressure. In the process, then they marched her to the junction. Before I could realize, I see the bigger armor car with about over 100 commandos armed with the various, tools. I mean, stick, iron rod, or what have you. About 100. So they started beating us. In fact, I received about over 50 again because they come on rotation. This person will beat you, another person will follow up. The stick, the various cane to beat under your foot, on your buttocks, at the back, on your head. But this cut is from the belt. The belt that the man lose the belt and they hit it, and I was trying to parade it, and I had a cut.
Is this his belt? You were trying to use his belt on your head?
Yeah, the belt, there's a metal on the belt. There's a metal. So they started beating up from 4:30 to 6 o'clock.
Goswe Kumakil is one of the organizers of a press conference calling for justice and punishment for the perpetrators of Tuesday's brutality. Goswe tells me that he was beaten in this neighborhood and then taken to Michelle camp, and then later to Burma camp, where they were subjected to another round of beatings. He says they were left around 11:30 p.m. and they came back home in their boxer shorts. He has been narrating the harrowing situation. He has been narrating his ordeal to me.
People were naked in clothes, nothing was on them. We were beaten excessively to the extent that it was 8 a.m. when they brought their car, took us to Michelle camp. We were detained at Michelle camp for about 3 to 4 hours when they went for another operation at Ashaiman Military and brought another suspect of about 100 and something to join us. So with that, they said, then their head office, the big men at the high hierarchy hut wants to have an interrogation with that at Burma camp. With that, they came for us from the military Michelle camp to Burma camp in an hours of 4 p.m. So we went to Burma camp from 4 p.m. At Burma camp, we were drilled.
So the first place you were taken to was Michelle Camp.
Michelle Camp.
And then from Michelle Camp you were taken to Bema Camp.
We were taken to Bema Camp, where the military police were and the investigation was done. Whilst the investigation are done, we were beaten by the military men that are there. That whilst they are hurt, their friend was asking for help. We, the community, did not give them help. And so far with that also, they said we Ashaiman people are on hot social media platform saying that soldiers are nothing to do with us. But we, some people, have nothing to do with social media. So we, some of us who have been victimized, are really innocent of this victim, and we know nothing about this.
So at Bema Camp, what happened at Bema Camp? Were you subjected to further beatings?
Oh, we are beaten totally. We were beaten. You roll on the floor. You eat like a dog on the floor. They'll stamp on you.
Wait, what were you eating on the floor?
You know, like a friend will hold you like this. Eh? Let me show you. Oh, Boga, like you sleep like this, like this. You'll be like this. Then one person will hold your leg. Then you do like this, like this. Then you do what? So we did this for over 3 to 4 hours. After this exercise, you will roll on the floor. You roll on to excessively that the award dogs will be following you. When you are in this condition and you want to have a nature score living, they said 1 second, 2 seconds, which is not good because we are human beings and we have our rights to speak for ourselves, and we want justice to prevail. So thank you very much.
At what time did they leave you?
Well, we are left. They left us around 10:30 that way.
Okay.
And they took us from official town, but bringing us home, they left us at Timber Market with only a boxer short and no tops.
Wait, when you were going, were you wearing a shirt?
We were not. We were picked up from official town with no top.
You're not allowed to wear anything?
We are not allowed to wear dress. Okay. We are bare-chested like my gentleman, but with only boxer shorts. From here to Michelle Camp to Bema Camp. In bringing us back, we were left at Timber Market, the runabout, naked like that, for us to come back to our residence, which is not good.
Another resident, Malto Dupe, who says he was also beaten by the soldiers, says justice must be served, and it must be served now.
It's unfair. It's unfair. Look at me. Did I have the courage to beat a military man? Look at me very well. Am I so fit and beat a military man or kill a military man? Even when I want to kill a fowl, I feel pretty to kill a cow or a fowl. Why is all this? We want justice. Justice, those who are from whatever they are, come down here and do this kind of unnecessary things, they have to bring them to book. It's not good at all. Where is the human right? The human right that we are talking about every day. Even the government itself is talking about human right. Where is our right? Where is our right right now? You see?
8:30 here on the AM show. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Bernice Abubeidu Lanza. And what you just saw was a wrap of events put together by my colleague Maxwell Agbagba on his visit to Ashaiman yesterday. Well, to help us talk about the many angles that have developed as a result of this incident, we have Adib Sani, a security analyst, joining us, and Professor Kojo Apieje Ichia. He is a lecturer at the University of Ghana's Faculty of Law. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the program this morning. I'm grateful. Let me start with you, Prof. How did you hear about this incident, and what were your initial thoughts about it?
I feel disturbed very much. I feel dismayed. I feel disappointed. And I begin to wonder if I'm dreaming or I'm living in Ghana today, 2023, a country that has returned to democratic rule since 1992, with a constitution that grants various forms of rights for the people. And being a party to many international human rights treaties. I feel completely shocked, and I cannot have the words to express my anger and disdain at what the people have been subjected to. It creates a very bad image on Ghana's record as a democratic state.
What about you, Adib?
Well, I'm absolutely gobsmacked. I'm disappointed. And a friend who is based in the UK told me about how he was with a British friend of his. He got the picture showing the people piled up with soldiers towering over them. And his British friend asked him, "Is this a picture of the slave trade era?" And he told him that no, it is a picture of Ghana today. It is absolutely shocking. And it makes me wonder what exactly it is the military sought to gain from that protocol that made it almost look like Ghana was at war, or it was a major counter-terrorism operation. I think it is a national day of shame, and it doesn't have to end with an apology. No, because when you do that, you continue perpetuating and incentivizing more military officers into thinking that the uniform gives them that false sense of invincibility, and that cannot be allowed to continue in 21st century Ghana.
Adib, we know that the military by nature isn't trained to deal with civilians, and all they know is force and brutish manner of doing things. Should they have gone there in the first place? Obviously, this involved their man. We are told that this was a high command sanctioned operation. But knowing their training, their background, and the argument is that they do not know any other way to do things but this way, should they have gone there in the first place?
Okay, so let's put some things into perspective. Fine. In the first place, it was an illegal operation because this is a purely interior matter. You don't need an expert to be able to decipher between interior and defense matters. So they actually took the work of the police and arrogated themselves powers that didn't exist in our statutes. Secondly, it is instructive to note that our military is one of the most respected in the world. We have contributed soldiers to many peacekeeping operations as far away as Lebanon. In Rwanda in 1994, when all countries abandoned Rwanda, the Ghanaian contingent was there under Romeo Dallaire, under the UN. And Liberia, when ECOMOG was formed, the first commanding officer is Ghanaian. And even in Ghana, the military is one of the most respected institutions. Unfortunately, in recent times, the attitude of some of these adrenaline-filled young officers is not helping the perceptions or opinions people now have about the military. That operation was needless because it wouldn't achieve anything. I understand over 70 people were arrested. And I told someone, mark it where water won't touch, all of them would be released because it is not the work of the military to go arrest criminals. I mean, anytime you see the military involved, then definitely it is a police-military joint operation. But police would be at the helm of affairs. They would take the lead, then the military would follow.
Actually, Adib, sorry to interject, but just by way of information, over 150 people were rounded up. We know 100 of them were released. We are told that the rest have been handed over to the Tema police for further investigation and possible prosecution. But you mentioned something. This is an interior matter and should have been handled by the police. Prof, some legal minds or experts have questioned why the president was silent over the matter. But we also haven't heard from the Interior Minister. Neither have we heard from the IGP.
Yes, that is a very big gap that we see in the whole unfolding story, because this is clearly the jurisdiction of the police service. That is clearly stated in the Constitution, stated in the Police Service Act. And so it beats the mind of anybody to see the silence, the loud silence coming from the IGP, as well as the Minister of Interior. And you only hear the Minister of Defense and his deputy coming on air and singing the praises of the military and showering that hallowed status on them, that they are untouchables. So I think that is where the Ministry of the Interior and the IGP have really shirked their responsibilities in making sure that law and order, which is in the purview of their mandate, is made to work. We see a situation where even the police started some investigations, and according to sources, they actually made some arrests. So why would that responsibility be hijacked from them and taken over by the soldiers, and they didn't respond or have not responded up to this point in any way, especially when there are clear breaches of procedures and laws that should have been followed. And so it's very shocking that we are not hearing from the IGP.
The victims are requesting compensation. Amnesty International agrees and says they should be compensated. But let's delve a bit more into the legal aspects of this matter. We know the police are the ones to make arrests. We know what the procedures are when you pick somebody, how long you can keep them for, the bail period, etc. All those were violated because obviously this is not even within the jurisdiction of the military. And so when they do these things, you can't even call it an arrest, Prof. Am I right? Some have called it an abduction because military people don't make arrests. So on the legal score, what does this also do to us as a country that prides itself in having a good judicial system? Even though there have been questions raised over the years. But, I mean, considerably, there are those who say that, I mean, we have laid down procedures that must be followed. What does this action do to that system that we have created?
What the soldiers did is an extrajudicial process they took. It's therefore shocking that the Deputy Minister of Interior talked about the fact that they sanctioned the operation. So
Deputy Minister of Defense.
Yeah, the Deputy Minister of Defense said the practice was, the whole operation was sanctioned by the government. And so it tells you clearly that the military is running rough shoulder. The powers have been taken over by the military, and nobody is questioning that. And so that is a situation where we have serious illegalities being committed here, because that is the work of the police. Apart from that, the soup exercise that was taken is clearly also a violation of the presumption of innocence of these people. By subjecting them to the beatings and so on, you have declared them as guilty of the offense even before they have the opportunity to be heard. And the torture that they went through, the situation where they were subjected to some sort of violence, which clearly demeaned them and violated their dignity, is something that should be taken very seriously. The military is not supposed to arrest people. And so in that respect, the military is just like any ordinary citizen of the country. We can only arrest where there is a reasonable suspicion or where you see the person actually committing the offense. This is not a situation that caused the military to go into that operation. And this is not a conflict zone. In a conflict zone where the military is undertaking an operation and they have been ambushed or hijacked, then they can call in extra troops to help. Right. This is not a situation where the police said, we have been overwhelmed, so we need extra help. So military, come in and help us. So clearly, that order from high command is a violation of the laws of the country. And to also say that it was an intelligence-led operation even makes the whole thing farcical, because an intelligence-led operation is based on having information. Sometimes these activities are done covertly, and you will not even hear of it because you have information that you have a targeted places that you are going to go to and people you are going to arrest. And so it's clinical. It is done in a way that with a high level of professionalism, these all don't make the mark if you check the boxes. And it clearly tells you how much the dignity of these people have been violated. Cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment is what has been meted to citizens of the country. Even non-citizens are entitled to such rights.
Right.
And therefore, to meet them to ordinary citizens of the country is very appalling.
We've established the illegality of this operation. What then are the options available to these victims?
Well, I think that one of the other illegalities we see here being played out is the fact that those arrested have not been granted bail. And we all know that within 48 hours after arrest, you're entitled to be granted bail or you are taken to court and charged. And so all these issues call for some steps that will be taken, both from the point of view of criminal law and human rights law. In the context of criminal law, one of the things I've said is the bail issue. And where we're talking about human rights, we also see where even where you are arrested, you're entitled to a lawyer. And you're entitled to give your statement in a language that you understand. And it should lead to a situation where you are charged or you are allowed to go scot-free. All these issues have been violated. The avenue is open for the victims. SRAJ is one place to go to. The court is one place to go to. Parliament, as an institution, can set up a probe or conduct investigations into this. Unfortunately, the Committee on Interior and Defense says they are waiting until next week, which is it's another way of shirking responsibility, because this is a situation where we need immediate action. You go to the ground, you gather the information, and you immediately be seen to be working to bring justice to the people.
But to be fair, some conversations have started. We know the ranking member of the committee told us that the military high command had apologized for the brutalities and the activities of its men who were sent for this particular operation. So they haven't visited the scene yet, but we know that there are some engagements that have happened. Prof, hold on for me. Let me go to Adib. Adib, there are those who say what we witnessed in Ashaiman is a culmination of past events that have not been addressed. Major one is the Major Mahama incident, and how the military feels that these people are attacking the force by attacking men in uniform. There are those who see this as a crime. I mean, it could have happened to anybody. And there are those who say, no, it goes beyond that. It is not just a crime. It is an attack on the force, and the force must respond in equal measure. Do you agree that what we are seeing is a combination of major events that have not been addressed?
I strongly doubt it, and we need to call the operation what it is. It is unbridled thuggery, and there's no way that can be rationalized. Indeed, there are some fundamental issues that needs to be addressed, but you don't take a whole community to ransom for the actions of a few. That few, we don't even know if they are from there or if they are even at location. As a criminal researcher, I do know that mostly when perpetrators engage in such heinous crimes, they are quick to leave the area. So it is possible that we might have not even been able to arrest a single one of them. Okay, and the information about the killing of Imoru Sharif is also somewhat murky. Was he killed because he's the soldier? Is it not the case of a domestic issue gone haywire? Was he targeted by a criminal gang in that area? Is it an old beef that played out in such a gruesome manner? That we don't know. So for anyone to think that the operation is justified because of what happens to soldiers, I think it is tantamount to mob mentality. Because in the first place, those individuals decided to take matters into their own hands by lynching. So if the military also decides to take matters into their own hands by going on such a dastardly, cowardly operation, what separates them from those who did the lynching in the first place? Fine. I think that there might have been some delay in the investigation process. And that, from my sources on the ground, incensed the military, who also decided to, go out there. But that operation sought to achieve nothing. Absolutely nothing. What I think our focus should be on is to address the fundamentals. And what are the fundamentals? One, the court system, the justice, system. Unfortunately, Major Mahama issue is still in court.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder why such a case can linger for so long. And I think largely that is what is also motivating people into perpetrating such crimes, knowing full well that the worst case scenario, the case might drag on for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. At the point, the government might not be interested in it. Okay? So, to a large extent, I mean, let me crave Professor's indulgence. I think the justice system has failed.
And I was going to Prof on that score because, Prof, it's possible the military feels that with this example we've just cited of Major Mahama, look, we allowed you to handle it your way, we didn't get the results. How about do it our way? What do you think about that?
Certainly that will create a law of the jungle, and that will put the whole country in a state where might is right. And so the soldiers can take the law into their own hands because they have the power of the gun. And so they just wield it and weaponize the whole situation. And so that will not solve the problem. It is true, we all agree that justice is slow in the country. For such situation, there should have been special court set up to deal with the matter. But for the soldiers to say that that case has taken so long, therefore they want to take the law into their own hands, go on a revenge spree, is very unfortunate because they are not special people. In some ways, it is the way the Minister of Defense has spoken, which seems to give them that glorified image and to justify what they are doing. That is not how the law should work. If the law is slow, we should find ways to make it work faster. And so that's excuse or grounds for trying to justify this invasion and perpetrate all these acts of barbarity and savagery on ordinary citizens cannot be justified in any way. The soldiers, in any case, have some court processes. They have some legal processes that they can follow. And I think that is one area that could also have been triggered to deal with such matters.
The other thing, Prof, is what exactly the military's motive was for going there. We are told in that statement released that they went there to get the perpetrators of the lynching that led to the young soldier's death. We heard from a victim in that report we played before I came to you, one of them saying the soldiers told them that when Imoro was calling for help, the community members didn't offer it, and so it was a form of punishment for them. My colleague here at Joy News, Jojo Kobna, has done some stories about these brutalities meted out to citizens across the country. There was one incident of some soldiers accusing a young boy of stealing their laptop. They melted plastic on him and all that. And it went to Shraj, and the soldiers were asked to compensate. In this matter, what can we do? We've spoken about what options are available to the victims, but what must be done for the military to understand that, yes, your men have been attacked, but you cannot continue this way? What for you will be that strong indication to the military?
It actually seems to be blowing hot and cold. In one's breath, they are saying that they wanted to arrest the perpetrators of the act. And in another breath, they're saying those people that they meted out those brutalities on were because they didn't help one of their own who was in need. These, as we said, are not justifiable. Now, to be able to deal with this problem, the point we need to make is that the soldiers, according to the Constitution, have a particular role to play. Their role is ensuring the security of the state. External security matters are in their hands. They are only engaged in internal security where there is a civil war or some sort of disturbance in the country which has escalated to a level that the police cannot handle. And so that is where they should draw the line, that this is where their responsibilities end. If it comes to justice issue, the police initiates that, works with the office of the Attorney General, the case goes to court, the matter is resolved at that level. Another way, so where we attempt to justify what the soldiers have done, especially coming from the Minister of Interior and his deputy, it gives the soldiers that special status that they can go and molest and do whatever they want, and they cannot be touched by the law. Indiscipline is in the country, but you cannot say that the soldiers is responsible for dealing with indiscipline in the country. We have witnessed military regimes in the country, and we know the brutalities that were meted out to ordinary persons. We said that we don't want to go back to that period. So we returned to constitutional rule since 1992. And for that matter, the soldiers are supposed to be even apolitical. They are not supposed to be engaged in political related activities. And so the lines should be drawn so that they know where they stand and what they can do and what they cannot do. It is the responsibility of the IGP to be given the power to arrest these soldiers who went on that revenge spree and make sure that they are prosecuted. That is the only way we can bring sanity into the police. We know what happened in Idra, we know what happened in Wa, and we know the results and how the fact that there was just a slap on the wrist for those who committed these acts. It should stop now, and so that people would know that this is what the police military can do and cannot do. They have been involved in land guardism and all those other practices. It is time to stop. There is even a high court decision which says that the military cannot engage in such brutalities. So people should get to understand that. Therefore, I feel appalled and overwhelmed when there is some justification, even from high-placed sources, trying to say that the military, when one of their own is affected, they will go all out to ensure that justice is done. That is not justice. And it cannot justify it in any way in a democratic state.
Adib, what for you will be the strongest indication to the military that this cannot continue?
Accountability 1, accountability 2, accountability 3. Unfortunately, like Professor mentioned, the unapologetic posture of especially the Deputy Defense Minister is adding insult to injury.
He says he would apologize for the brutalities, but not for the operation.
Good. So how did the brutalities culminate? Because of this needless, illegal operation. So it doesn't even have to end with apologizing for the operation, but it has to end with a thorough investigation into what happened, right from the very top to the very bottom. And whoever is found culpable must be dealt with, because this is becoming one too many. And I must say, categorically, without mincing words, that it is in the best interest of the military for accountability to prevail. Because like I always say, without the civilians, it is almost impossible for the military to be able to fulfill their mandate. But if you have a civilian population that sees you as not part of them, you're bound to have them become uncooperative with you. There will be societal rejection, and that would only make matters worse. So I think that on this occasion, it doesn't have to be yet another statistic. It doesn't have to be business as usual. With a slap on the wrist, go and don't do it again. But they keep doing it. The Kwa case is a classical point that we can revisit. You know, when you take a look at the punishment regime, it is laughable. And that is what is motivating a lot of these officers into thinking that the uniform grants them that immunity. It doesn't have to go that way. And one more important thing, it is illegal under our laws, local and even international, to group punish. You don't do it. It is unacceptable, you know. And in some cases, it's even crimes against humanity. All right. So I think that certain persons, especially within the military, have answers to give to the questions that some of us within the security space are asking.
Finally, arguably, this may deepen the already frosty relationship between the civilian populace and the military. You just mentioned what happened in Wa, the examples of Ijura, examples of what happened with Major Mahama, and now this one. How do we ensure that in the process of finding the perpetrators of this heinous crime against a soldier, we are also mending the broken relationship so that we don't have incidents like this whenever there's a trigger or a point of tension? Let me start with you, Prof, and I'll end with you, Adib.
I think Mr. Sani talks about accountability. That is what should be done. There's accountability mechanisms that are in place that should be made to work. And the commander-in-chief is also should make sure that he lets these systems work. The soldiers are not to be given specialized treatment. Somebody was even telling me that it's because maybe they are afraid of a possible coup d'etat. That's why they are treating the soldiers this way. I wouldn't go that route, but at least it creates that perception that people may have that why are you treating the soldiers this way? So there is a need for the laws to work. The laws are there, and they should be made to work. The Inspector General of Police has a role to play in this. Parliament has a role to play in this. SRAJ has a role to play in this. At least in this situation, we see SRAJ coming out to condemn the practice. There is the need for the victims to present their cases before SRAJ, and we are working on that so that SRAJ can take the matter up. Parliament has a role to play in this. The executive can still mend fences. And I think that we also have the security councils, the regional security council, the district security council, even the national security council. They should come in here. And where necessary, there are processes involved, setting up tribunals and so on, to deal with some of these matters under the Security and Intelligence Act. So all these mechanisms should be triggered. And the soldiers should come out with a proper apology. In fact, that's press release that came out didn't involve any apology at all. The one that was made by the Deputy Minister of Defense and the Minister himself were unfortunate and, in fact, irresponsible apologies. I don't think this is an apology properly so-called. And it shouldn't end at apology. It should result in compensation. The soldiers themselves should come and say, this is what we have done wrong. And going forward, it is not going to be repeated, and these people should be handed over to the police to be punished.
Thank you, Prof. Adib, you have the final word.
Excuse my French, but I think at this point in time, some persons should have even been resigned or even been fired if truly we're a serious country. Just recently, there was a train disaster in Greece. The transport minister, who wasn't the driver of that train, who didn't know about the train moving from a station to another point resigned. Okay, so I think that hairs have to roll because of what has happened, because it has brought us a lot of shame as a country. Secondly, we need to start dialogue and talking about the justice system and how we can grease the wheels so it is able to move in a faster way. Delayed justice doesn't necessarily grant fair justice. And that is something we need to pay attention to. And there's a need for public education. People should be made to understand that we are not a banana republic. We're a country that is governed by the rule of law. And you don't have the locus to take matters into your own hands by engaging in acts of lynching. With that in mind, I'm pretty sure we would get the necessary support from the communities, which would complement efforts by the courts, by the executive, and even by the security services in ensuring that this practice is nipped in the bud once and for all.
I appreciate your time here this morning. Adib Sani is a security analyst. He's been sharing his thoughts with us. Earlier, you heard Prof. Prof is a lecturer at the University of Ghana's Faculty of Law, Professor Apieji Itia. Thank you so much for joining the conversation, and hopefully we will get some remedies to this. As I said earlier, Shraj says that it will investigate this if it's petitioned. Amnesty International has asked for compensation for the victims and has said that this should be investigated not necessarily by the military, but by another body to ensure that the investigation is proper and accepted by all parties. And on your screen there, you see that statement by Amnesty International. It says it's taking notice of a video recording making rounds on social media and other news outlets of alleged military brutality in Ashaiman. Let's bring you excerpts of this. According to media reports, a mandate was issued by the military high command to deploy military personnel into Ashaiman to search for the culprits of the crime. This unfortunately led to innocent civilians facing brutality from the military personnel. A series of human rights abuses involving, but not limited to, flogging, restricting free movement of residents, and breaking into people's homes were meted out to the persons of Ashaiman constituency. To this effect, innocent people have been hurt both physically and psychologically due to this inhumane act. Amnesty International Ghana is against all forms of violence and human rights abuses and condemns the violence meted out to the military and civilians. The military is to take a step back and allow the Ghana Police Service conduct thorough investigations into the unfortunate killing of the soldier. I would like to respectfully remind the President of Ghana, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Minister of Interior, the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces, and other authorities involved in law enforcement in Ghana that under their international human rights obligations, they must promptly, independently, thoroughly, and effectively investigate this unfortunate incident. So there's more to that. You can get more on myjoyonline.com, but basically calling out the President, the Interior Minister, to look into this and do something about it. You're still watching the AM show with me, Bernice Abubedu Lanza. We'll be back with more. Do stay with us.